This podcast is brought to you by Adelaide. Media verification and measurement are undergoing major disruption. Legacy players are pivoting to performance advertising, AI is reshaping brand safety, and attention is replacing viewability. Adelaide is leading this shift with AU, a new way to assess media quality that scores placements based on their potential to drive attention and outcomes before your ads run. Think of it like a credit score for media. Finally, a clear view of quality before you buy. Take the guesswork out of your investment strategy and try Adelaide AU on your next campaign. Welcome to Marketecture, where you can get smart fast with in-depth interviews of leading technology executives. I'm Ari Paparo, and I'm joined today by the new CEO of TripleLift, David Helmreich, who has been on the show before in other jobs, and we've had TripleLift on the show with other people, so we're going full circle here. Dave, thank you so much for being here.
Great to be here. Thanks, Ari, and good to chat again, as always.
Yeah, and congrats on the new jobs. How long have you been in the job?
Thank you. I think as of today, today's April 11th, I started February 11th, so you could say 60 days, but it's really like 58.
Okay,
59,
right.
59 tomorrow.
Yep, so now the hard work starts, right?
I think the hard work is always there. It just depends on how much you lean into it.
Okay. So probably everyone listening to this has heard of TripleLift. They have a vision in their mind of the company as sort of this exchange, native exchange. So what is TripleLift nowadays?
TripleLift has, been in the business for a long time. The company originally started focusing on purely native and native as a solution and was heavily instrumental in the native spec. The big area of our focus today is, focusing on being the industry's only creative SSP. So we're working on a couple of things. Reinforcing the opportunity to use creative as the last mile of performance, right? I believe, along with the research, that creative has been underserved. It has not been as much of a focus. So trying to reinvent some of the legacy formats to improve not only monetization for publishers, but better experience for advertisers. And for those of us that spend time sort of, in media, obviously a better experience for us. We're also using that sort of creative capability and component level tech to drive impact in retail media. We're going to focus on CTV, and we continue to focus on CTV, and, trying to leverage our core to obviously drive, creative and ultimately better performance, so not just a delivery system, but, trying to help people use that delivery system in a unique way to drive better creative application.
It's interesting because you usually don't think of folks who are mostly on the supply side as being on the creative side as well. So how are those two things being bridged? Are agencies or advertisers coming to you looking for ideas on the creative side?
It's actually, I would say it's not only publishers that are coming to us, because what publishers want to do, whether it's in the upfronts, or it's in web or video, publishers want to create unique opportunities for them to expose programmatically.
Okay.
It helps, whether you are creating a programmatic pause ad like DirecTV, or you have some sort of unique, squeeze back or format as a publisher. So publishers are always trying to find ways to improve, either monetization or unique capability, right? That's not new. And then a lot of it is coming from brands. I was in Detroit last night at an event, and the amount of conversations we had, with some of the largest automotive manufacturers and OEMs in the world, talking about what can we do differently for, this new launch or this new experience or this new campaign. So it's actually coming from the publishers, it's coming from the brands, and obviously the advertisers are trying to bring interesting things to their customers.
Sure. And you said squeeze back. What is a squeeze back? Is that a push down?
Yeah, I mean it's there's a number of different ways to apply it, but effectively like splitting the screen or like using some modified way on web or in screen or in TV to sort of push down or expose both the content and the creative application at the same time.
I see. And so what sort of tools do you offer to these clients? You mentioned the automotive clients. Like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
How are they using TripleLift?
Yeah. So one example is, we have customers that come to us with the idea. So we will expose, the ability in for example, if a brand wants to run a campaign, we need 4 assets, right? So, and most of those should be in their toolkit, right? We need the product image, we need the logo, the copy, some call to action. And, they don't need to spend, anything, new to actually create that. So we use, some of the capabilities in the company to look at the image, right? Understand the product in the image, understand the focal points, color scheme, all sorts of tech. We can use a contextual engine to look at the publisher page in real time. So what's the topic, the layout, sort of placement size. And then the result of that, and this is again, programmatic based on all the tools, is an ad that looks like it's part of the site, right? Not an intrusion. It renders sort of perfectly without regard to the shape, or the environment or the placement. So, that's one way that's actually happening today. Now, if there are things that don't, fit, either an existing format or capability, or they don't have the creative, we'll work with those teams either on a managed service basis or help them with some of our tools to actually create those experiences. So, the big part of our business is obviously doing all of this in programmatic, but we realize that many of these things don't come out of the box.
Yeah.
So,
I get it.
So, much like we did, obviously at Innovate, there's some things that we actually have to build for people because this is a new motion, new muscle, sort of new experience.
Yeah, of course. And so let's talk retail media because you brought it up, and I know there's been some announcements. So what is TripleLift doing there?
So we had an announcement, I think, last year, sort of mid last year, or before I started, where we have been working with Amazon for quite some time to roll out effectively a better experience for retail buyers. And the whole point of that was pretty simple. Like, there's already an immense amount of information that exists in Amazon in both the product detail page, right? And it's also powered by an Amazon identifier, right? It's called an ASIN. And that ASIN is the key to unlock all of the details for a product on a product detail page. So what we built was effectively this adaptive commerce. We called it an adaptive commerce solution. And if you go to Amazon's sort of, they call it responsive e-commerce creative. And what they can do with endemic advertisers is, with us, basically add the product ASINs that they actually want to target. And then the responsive capability that we've built with them will optimize to select that ASIN based on the target audience. And then it takes all of the live elements that already exist in the product detail page, things like pricing, deals, ratings, and all of that will be applied in all of the third-party source, supply that we expose to them. So go ahead.
Yeah. So you expose to them. So this is a product that's tied to the Amazon DSP?
It's tied. Correct. Yep. It's tied to the Amazon.
When it bids on your inventory.
Correct.
I see. Okay.
Yep.
Nice way to put a bow on that.
Well, yeah. Great way to describe it, for sure. The point was very simply not to recreate a new data feed or a new upload or a new product category and try to remove the friction so that they can ultimately activate what they're already doing with brands today on third-party inventory that we're bringing to them.
Sure, that's pretty innovative. Instead of making their DSP do all that work, you kind of give them a solution to get the inventory purchased. Do you have any data about whether that performs better than normal creatives?
Well, we do have a lot of data on sort of how overall, the responsive commerce formats work. And we do we have that specifically from Amazon yet? Yes, but we're not disclosing sort of the results of those things yet. But overall, they're like, and this is overall, including what we're doing with everyone. The engagement is almost 3x.
Yeah,
more engagement, and that's across every format, right? So it's across native rec. I think the rec formats that we have exposed are, and I'll get the numbers mostly right, but partially wrong, like a 3 times higher click-through rate. We've seen it with e-commerce agencies that are using the same capability, like a much lower cost per click and about a 50% higher return on ad spend, also delivering incremental new customers.
Got it.
So it's not just going after existing audience and more performance from the same audience. It's actually bringing net new people into those products.
Cool. So what's going on in CTV with TripleLift?
Yeah, CTV is, something that we spend a lot of time on. And it's, I think if you think about the last discussion we just had, it's not CTV or retail media, right? Or CTV or retail or creative. The capability that we've built is directly applicable to what's happening in on-site and off-site inventory for retail media. It's also the same in CTV.
Okay.
So we have spent time on a couple of things. We've focused on, our what we call enhanced spots. So, trying to leverage like 2 pieces of capability from the company. One, understanding when we can actually create a unique experience, right? We talked about sort of like those overlays or split screen formats like that appear during shows, not just commercial breaks, right? We call those enhanced spots. And we have product spotlight capability there. We use QR codes to integrate that, to drive engagement in new ways. Some of the things we're doing there is trying to, again, leverage unique opportunities with publishers to create better units, right? Rather than just cramming an IAB into a pause, or into some extra space, using things to do like in show. So placement within content. We have enhanced shoppable video. So like pairing retail media demand with like better storytelling for commerce driven brands in specific content. And, we're also directly integrated with, almost 80% of the top 25 publishers, which have most of the inventory. So we're spending a lot of time going after premium supply where we can create a unique experience.
And just so I understand, so some of this is pipe work. Like if I have a creative and I have a DSP, I can just buy the CTV through you. And then others is like this value add creative format capability.
Yep. And it's yes. Some of it is pipe, right? We actually, until we actually have the integrations and do the work, we can't actually create anything new. So there is some basic blocking and tackling that has to get done to create new capability. Obviously with that integration, we're trying to, bring a better experience to some of these publishers. And obviously performance will drive that adoption. But the other part of it is just trying to give them something unique that sets them apart in the sales process, especially when consumers, I don't know how many streaming services you license or subscribe to, but a lot. Yeah, same, way too many. So can I, if Taylor Sheridan builds a beautiful show and there's a pause on Paramount Plus, is it a great experience or is it just something jammed in there that is disruptive in the format?
And how consultative is this? Like, I'd imagine when you start talking creative, you have to start talking about consulting and help, right?
Yeah, I think it is. It's absolutely a consultative, both on the go-to-market teams, but also in the product org. But to be clear, like we're not going to, we're not going to Univision or DirecTV and telling them something that they don't know already.
Yeah.
It's
totally.
more about helping them understand that what's possible.
Yeah.
Because people have known about TripleLift for a long time and they say, oh, well, you guys were this company. Well, that is true. And we also do, X, Y, and Z. And we have a data fuel business based on the acquisition. We also have CTV expertise. We also have deep retail media expertise in the company. I think part of this is it's an education journey in many ways too.
Got it. All right, let's move to a quick lightning round. Quick questions, quick answers. I think you're a pro at this. What is your biggest challenge?
The biggest challenge is my personal biggest challenge is time and focus. Trying to spend time with as many people in the company as possible, and also only focus on the things that are going to yield the most value.
Got it. And what is your number one competitive advantage? The company, the creative. I asked this of everyone. So, like, why won't Google, Amazon, Facebook, etc. just crush you?
I think it's not their focus. Amazon is focused intensely on third-party inventory and integrations, which is benefit for us. Google, I think you delivered a master class at Marketecture on what will happen if Google has any antitrust action, if that ever happens.
Yeah.
But this is something that's very, very hard to do, and it is not something that even current public SSPs will probably have the ability or the time to spend a lot of time to focus on.
All right, last question. If TripleLift was an animal, what animal would it be?
I'm actually going to go with, I prepared this time, by the way, compared to the last time when you asked me this question. I would actually say hummingbird.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
And for a couple of reasons. One, fast-paced and agile. Like, we have the ability to move with speed, and that's what I love about the business. Super creative, right? We sort of are able to navigate a fairly complex environment. And last is just impactful despite size.
Yep. That's a good answer. All right, Dave from TripleLift, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening to the Marketecture Podcast. New episodes come out every Friday, and an insightful vendor interview is published each Monday. You can subscribe to our library of hundreds of executive interviews at marketecture.tv. You can also sign up for free for our weekly newsletter with my original strategic insights on the week's news at news.marketecture.tv. And if you're feeling social, we operate a vibrant Slack community that you can apply to join at adtechgod.com.